most of parents who come to ask us for our advocacy and going to meetings and things like those are parents who are having a very difficult time with their child having online classes. And this must be, well, it's very individual cases. Maybe it's, there are some students who do well in online learning, maybe in the autism spectrum, and some others who have more severe autism that are not okay. They cannot pay their whole attention to the online class. And some other parents whose children may have medical conditions that prevents them to go to school, and the online learning is not going very well. So we talk to teachers and we talk to parents, and as I was saying, at the moment is nobody's land, because this is completely unprecedented situation. And as we have to be, what we say is we have to be curious about what options do we have, trying to do the best that we can as advocates to see what is in the hands of the district or not. And we are completely aware that the district has to be, it has to go with the health regulations from Boulder County, cannot pass over that. And so it's difficult for the parents, especially for those who have, for instance, also they have the support in schools for behavior, and they have a behavior plan. They had a behavioralist at the school that can help them when the child has crisis and meltdowns and crisis. They don't have that at home. And so it's being hard for some families right now to and for the students to access the education, because you know how it is. One shoe doesn't fit everybody, and that's why the students have individual educational plans, because it's according to this particular student. But that is being hard for some of our families.
Eugenia Brady with Association for Community Living. You are a specialist in also helping the Latino communities navigate, those that have kids with special needs, navigate the system. And it is not easy. Like online is not easy. Even the online and remotely, it's like another world for our community many times. Huh? It's like walking into...
Yeah, and I've got as a mom, well, obviously I get concerns if my son is going to be, if he's going to get the COVID or not. So because of the COVID and the situations with the school, we decided that we will keep Benjamin online for the year, because my son is in the autism spectrum, and one of the difficulties for him is changes are very difficult for him, changes in routine, changes. And so this was very hard for him at the beginning of the year with the pandemic. It was extremely hard to all of a sudden lose his structure, his routine, going to school and everything. It was very difficult. So I thought that if we could try to be in person, and then if the school for some reason was shut down again, it wouldn't work for him. And that would interfere with his education, because this year he's a senior in Centauros. And so my son has been able to be at grade level, and I don't want him to, because of the change or something, to interfere with how he's doing in the school. And Benjamin is one of those kiddos in the school who was changed to online learning, and it has been fine with him. He has been doing the work. His special education teacher is wonderful. He has been, I don't know, I think it's beyond what he has been able to do to help Benjamin and support him. So I'm very happy with that. And so that's one of the kiddos who has been doing well.
Yeah, in the podcast, we hear the story of the family, Macarano's family, sharing their difficulties because their kids are small. They are just 9, 5, and 3-year-old. And they are really getting a lot of support from the schools. So I want to point that out and pass now the microphone to Richard Garcia, um, member of the school district, to talk about what are those things that the school district is doing fantastic, because I also want to point that out, just like Bianca Gallegos, principal of Columbine, has pointed out, this is everything that we're doing. I would like if you can also speak about that, and then we can go to another topic that I want to ask you, Richard. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. How's everybody? Good? Excellent.
Muy bien, muy bien.
Well, I guess what I want to say is that Boulder Valley School District probably has the best principals, the best schools in the state of Colorado, the best teachers in the state of Colorado. They all care very, very much for the work that they do with children. The pandemic way back in March was pretty difficult for everyone. And when everybody went to remote learning and we had to stay in remote learning all throughout the school year, it was hard. It was tough. I mean, it's, the staff at the central office, boy, they got in there and they started working very diligently, trying to figure things out. As you know, because of the pandemic, a lot of teachers get exempt statuses where if they themselves are at risk, or maybe have family members that live with them that are at risk, they get to be put on an exempt basis. And we had quite a few teachers like that. And I think Bianca probably would attest to that in terms of how many teachers in her school were exempt. So that created a big problem logistically. Okay? When we started going back to in-person learning, because many of those teachers are still doing remote learning, or remote teaching, should I say, and some are in the buildings. And then logistically, the principals have to figure out, their cohorts, who's going to teach their children. And oftentimes you have situations where the teacher that was teaching the child is no longer teaching the child, somebody else is teaching the child. So there's all these logistical issues that create a big problem for the schools and for a lot of people to understand. It's not that easy. And but I have to give kudos to our superintendent. I have to give kudos to our principals. I have to give kudos to our special ed departments. I know that the Engaged Latino Parents Advancing Student Outcomes had a long conversation with our superintendent and also with the director of special ed, because they had a bunch of issues. Okay, and the issue number one is online learning. They're not having their IEPs met online, and they went back and forth. And hopefully, I think that's straightened out by now. But those are just some issues that we have to deal with in the school district, from a 30,000-foot level. But I can imagine what it's like at the building level. I went to go visit Emerald Elementary School because the principal invited me to go, and I went and I saw when they were K2, I saw the K2 kids, and I saw the teachers, and I saw them at the cafeteria eating, because one of the concerns that I had is, how are they handling the cafeteria stuff? They had it pretty well together. Wow, I was pretty impressed in terms of the work that they were doing. And then some of the kids, like the second graders, for example, some of them were not doing in person. They were doing the what do you call that, Bianca? The one where the teacher's teaching them.
The remote via Revis?
Yeah, Revis. Yeah, the Revis process, and that was also pretty impressive. Because she was teaching and the kid was on the screen, or a couple of kids were on the screen, learning at the same time that she was teaching. So it's I think Boulder Valley School District has done a tremendous job in terms of working with our kiddos and our families, And I know that there's people that are not happy, people that are happy, and I mean, you have that all over the place. And you can't please everybody, and now that you're back on K5, and then you have some of the middle schoolers coming in 2 days a week, and you have high schoolers coming in 1 day a week. I don't know if you heard that Boulder High School had to go remote because they got contaminated. So they had to go into quarantine, and they won't be back until November 9th or something like that. And the same thing with Eisenhower Elementary School. So they're watching really well in terms of what happens when a child is or a staff member, and when that happens, what do? Well, everybody goes remote, until they get it taken care of. And I'm pleased to hear that, or to see that we didn't have a whole lot of complaints in terms of Boulder High or in terms of Eisenhower Elementary, because I feel like people do understand that situation. One of the questions that I asked our superintendent the other day at our board meeting was, because Latinos have the highest propensity of getting COVID. Okay. So I was curious to find out, because a lot of times, and Latinos know that, the families know that they have the highest propensity, and they're fearful in terms of sending their kids to school. So I want to know, and he said he was going to get back with me on the numbers, but I want to know how many Latino kids have exempted from going to school or are absent, because I think that plays a lot in the scheme of things. And the reason I want to know that is because what else can we do to support these families?
Richard Garcia, a board member with the school district. It is so fantastic to have you there. This is what I always say, to support our community. And today I'm having this special panel discussion with Bianca Gallegos, Principal, Columbine Elementary, Eugenia Brady, advocate for kids with disabilities at the Association for Community Living, and with Richard Garcia today. And you have listened to a podcast that went out, the Trends podcast, and we try to do a bilingual format this time to really honor our community, to honor the Spanish that is so important to bring out because it is in our community. And saying that, I will really like if you can, this time goes so fast, if you can really start you, Bianca, with wrapping it up. Why is this so important right now to continue with the education, especially for kids that are little and small, like kinder, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and kids with disabilities that are Spanish speaking from our Latino community, to continue supporting them so that we one day will hopefully will close the gap that we have between our communities.
¿En español?
En español sería maravilloso. Venga un poquito.
Claro que sí, con mucho gusto. Bueno, es tan importante poder seguir en esta lucha. En verdad es una lucha y es en muchas formas una revolución que estamos batallando. Tenemos que poder trabajar juntos con las familias que son los maestros tan importantes en la vida de los alumnos, y poder caminar hombro en hombro y mano en mano en esta lucha, porque nuestros alumnos latinos son absolutamente brillantes. Tienen tanto potencial, tienen tanto por delante y se merecen lo mejor de nosotros como educadores y como padres de familia. Entonces, estoy segura de que si seguimos adelante y seguimos trabajando junto con las familias, vamos a poder seguir adelante. Hay que echarle muchas ganas siempre, para atrás ni para agarrar impulso, como se dice, y tenemos que poder seguir en esta marcha y seguir apoyando a los alumnos, seguir con las rutinas, seguir con las expectativas altas, seguir con el apoyo para que podamos cerrar la brecha académica.
Lo has dicho muy bien, Bianca Gallegos. Lo has dicho perfectamente y lo has dicho en inglés, en español, que me gusta muchísimo. And I would like now to have, pass also the baton to Eugenia Brady so that she can have her last thoughts around this same issue that I'm setting up. Why is this so important that we continue supporting our community, our Latino community, our Spanish-speaking community that is struggling more than ever now with the restrictions of COVID-19? From not having access to internet, to computers, and also struggling with having to teach a second language. Eugenia Brady.
Sí, es muy importante que sigamos todos juntos, ¿verdad? Que sí, como dijo Bianca, que le echemos ganas. Los padres de familia también. Yo estoy reuniéndome con padres de familia latinos que tienen hijos en educación especial de semana de por medio. Si tienen padres de familia, por favor, se pueden comunicar conmigo. Este grupo de padres de familia se reúne por Zoom y ellos están hablando de sus problemas, sus logros, todo eso, porque otra cosa que está muy cerca de nuestros estudiantes son los padres de familia que están, como decimos en inglés, burned out. Ellos tienen que trabajar con sus hijos, tienen ahora que estar de maestros, tienen que igual en la casa afrontar, por ejemplo, asuntos de comportamiento, cosas así. Entonces es muy importante que la comunidad latina de padres esté junta, porque juntos podemos escuchar tal vez, qué sé yo, estrategias que otro padre tiene. Yo hago esto y yo hago el otro. Entonces es muy bueno que los padres de familia estén juntos en este tiempo para que se ayuden unos a otros y hacer esta especie de bloques de apoyo en los que cada familia puede. Tenemos, como decía Blanca, una situación sin precedente, además de las otras cosas que los padres latinos han enfrentado, como la tecnología, la falta de internet, todas estas cosas, pero tenemos una comunidad que es muy resiliente y muy trabajadora, muy fuerte. Entonces, los padres de familia es muy bueno porque a pesar de las dificultades y los desafíos que ellos tengan, están dispuestos a ir adelante con sus hijos y eso es lo importante. Entonces, que sigamos siempre viendo la manera de trabajar juntos. De alguna forma vamos a figurar esto, ¿verdad? Va a terminar un día de todas formas y mientras tanto tenemos que seguir trabajando todos juntos, el distrito escolar, los padres de familia, los defensores también, para todos juntos como comunidad seguir avanzando, aunque la pandemia ha puesto un poco de limitaciones, pero seguir adelante a pesar de eso.
Seguir adelante juntos todos, just to continue together and to go forward in trying to figure it out. Thank you so much, Eugene, for those phrases of hope and advice to the community. I would like if Richard Garcia has now the last words to complement what Bianca Gallegos and Eugenia Brady has said, and especially around, the I'm going to say it, the wonderful thing that we have now, a full kindergarten. I don't want to let it pass. This is something that I know personally, Richard Garcia, as part of El Paso movement, have worked really hard to accomplish this. Y si lo quieres hacer en español, está muy bien.
Claro que sí.
Un poco mezclado.
Mira, nada más quiero reforzar lo que dijo Bianca y lo que dijo Eugenia acerca de los padres de familia. Yo sé que tenemos muchos maestros buenísimos y directores de escuelas buenísimos, que trabajan día tras día tras día ayudándole a los niños. Pero una cosa que quiero poner ¿cómo se dice? Inculcar la importancia es el involucramiento de los padres de familia. Yo he trabajado toda mi vida, tratando de involucrar a los padres de familia con más eficaz, porque esta brecha académica que existe aquí en este condado de Boulder, en el distrito escolar de nosotros, es la más ancha del estado de Colorado. Y hay razones por qué, ¿no? Pero una de las maneras en cómo podemos cerrar la brecha es que los padres de familia estén involucrados más activos en la educación de los niños. Y eso se merece capacitación, porque los padres de familia tienen el corazón, tienen las ganas de ayudar a los niños, a veces no tienen las herramientas para hacerlo. Y por eso necesitamos programas como El Paso, otros programas que existen aquí en Boulder, para ayudar a los padres de familia en cómo se pueden involucrar más. Y también necesitamos padres de familia que tengan una voz fuerte para insistir, para demandar que estas cosas les lleguen a ellos, ¿ok? Ahorita estamos trabajando mucho acerca de muchas cosas que le afectan a los latinos y a los afroamericanos aquí en este distrito. Pero tenemos que nosotros inculcarle a los padres de familia la importancia de que ellos también se lancen y se pongan las pilas para poder luchar con la directora, con Eugenia, conmigo en la mesa directiva, para traer cambios. Porque los cambios que yo he trabajado aquí en Boulder Valley School District por muchos años, de voluntario, de empleado, etcétera. Y he visto que no se ha cambiado mucho. ¿Okay? Y eso para mí es una desgracia que no se ha cambiado. Aunque hay mucha gente que está impulsando, nada se hace. Ahorita tenemos un Latino Parent Advisory Council, ¿y qué está pasando con ellos? Ahorita se están quejando, ya tienen 2 años trabajando y nadie les está poniendo atención. Y
Richard
te digo,
Garcia,
bueno,
Richard Garcia, lo has dicho muy bien. Hay que seguir luchando, hay que seguir trabajando. And Richard, you were talking about this, the necessity for parents to get involved in the education of the kids and to find their voice. There's this new council of equity, un consejo de equidad nuevo en el que, well, it's an important issue because 900 people apply and only 40 people were able to get in. And it seems like, the topics are right on of what you are talking about, how there's things that we need to pay attention.
yeah, and my curiosity with that number of applicants that came in, 900 applicants, because of the subject and the topic that they were supposed to take on, a lot of people wanted to get into that and talk about that topic, either pro or con. I don't know what the issues, in terms of people's feelings and thinking. But what if it would have been something else? Okay, in terms of the Equity Council working like anti-racism, for example. I'm wondering if the numbers would have changed or what. But anyway, I guess my thinking is depending on the topic, you're going to have a lot of people wanting to be involved, and we'll see what happens, with this Equity Council. Pero
Habrá que ver, como dicen. Habrá que ver.
Yeah.
Habrá que ver. Richard Garcia, a board member of the school district, Boulder Valley School District, Bianca Gallegos, principal Columbine Elementary, Eugenia Brady with Association for Community Living. I thank you so much for coming to this panel discussion to talk about these issues that are important as part of the Trends podcast. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic afternoon. And you are listening to KGNU, Boulder, Denver, and Fort Collins. And my name is Rosana Longo, and this morning you're going to enjoy more music and a fantastic time. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today.